Keith Haring was born on May 4, 1958. He grew up in Pennsylvania. He started to draw from a young age. After high school, Keith moved to New York City to go to an art school. He loved being in the big city. There were museums with all kinds of art. There were many other young artists working in his neighborhood. In New York, he found his unique style. He began by making drawings on blank bulletin boards in the subways, and soon the popularity of his art grew. He became internationally famous, and he used his art to tell messages about love and helping others. You can learn more about the life and art of Keith Haring at haringkids.com. So for today's project, you are going to need scissors and glue, some black markers or black crayons, some colorful construction paper. I'm using primary colors of red, yellow, and blue, and then a white or different piece of paper for your background. Most of Keith Haring's famous works feature figures and sometimes animals or different symbols. So I'm going to draw on those works to decide some different shapes and figures and symbols to draw. So I'm going to draw them on my pieces of construction paper. I've got some scraps and some larger pieces. So most of his figures start with a large round head, and then there's not a lot of detail in the body or the figures. The arms and legs are just real simple shapes coming from the central body, and they often appear to be dancing or moving about quite a bit. So you're just going to draw some very simple shapes. The hands and feet were kind of simple, rounded shapes, and there were no features, no details, no clothing added. Let's see, he would often draw things like televisions, which looked a little bit different then than they do now. So that's kind of an old-fashioned TV. He might also draw dogs, or he had a very famous figure of a baby. He would often draw hearts. Sometimes the hearts had arms and legs coming out from them, kind of like this. So arms and legs similar to those in his other figures. Might go on a heart or a radio. So see what figures and symbols you can make. Draw them on your construction paper. Leave a little space between them, because our next step will be to cut around these shapes. So when you're cutting, leave just a very small margin around your drawing, like this. And sometimes it's easier to cut these out if you start by just cutting big pieces of your construction paper and then go back and cut with a little more detail and precision. So I'm trying to leave an even amount of space around the outside of my figure drawing. Okay, so I'm going to finish drawing and cutting out, and then I'll come back to show you how to arrange and glue these on your background. So I thought that I would show you how to draw one of Keith Haring's more well-known little characters or figures, a dog. And it's going to start with a small uppercase M toward the left side of your space. That's going to be the dog's ears. Then you're going to make a horizontal line for his back, and you'll make a small vertical line, small horizontal line, then a longer vertical line. This is going to be the back of his leg. Now you're going to connect 4 legs along the bottom of the dog. Each leg is basically a rectangle that connects together. And for the dog's barking mouth, you're going to make a sideways V. Then you'll put lines on each edge of the V and connect it to the top part of his head and where his legs come in. And now you have a Keith Haring dog. And often he would make some little lines coming out like the dog is barking. I like to make some lines like his tail is wagging. So after you have drawn your shapes on your colored construction paper, you're going to cut carefully around the shapes and arrange them on your paper however you'd like. I use white school glue to glue them by putting small dots of glue like this on the back of my shape. And then you will arrange your shapes, put the glue on, and put them on your paper and carefully smooth them out. Once you have put them on the paper, you might want to put a few action lines coming out of the images to show some movement and energy. Here's those lines coming out like the dog is barking and wagging his tail. These figures are dancing, and this looks kind of like a mother holding a baby, and she's radiating love for her baby. So I hope you enjoyed this little lesson on the art of Keith Haring, and we'll see you next time here at BRAHM.